What if everything you were taught about Jesus was a lie designed to keep you powerless? What if I told you that Jesus never came to start a religion? That every church, every doctrine, every ritual you've ever witnessed was built like a prison around the most dangerous truth in human history? The truth that you, yes, you, carry the same flame that burned in his chest, the same divine fire that the empire spent 2,000 years trying to extinguish. He wasn't sent to be worshipped. He came to remind you of who and what you really are. He came to activate something that's been sleeping inside you since before you were born. But if he never came to start a church, if his real message was buried under centuries of control and manipulation, then what was that message? And why are you hearing this now? My name is Ian Walker, and for the past 12 years, I've been decoding the hidden teachings that were stripped from Christianity. What I'm about to share with you will either transform your life forever, or you'll click away because your soul isn't ready for this level of truth. But if you stay, if you're one of the ones who's been feeling that ancient stirring, that call to something deeper, then this isn't just another YouTube video. This is your initiation into the real gospel, the one they never wanted you to hear. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the 3 secret codes Jesus left behind that can activate your dormant divine nature. I'll reveal the real reason Rome didn't kill Christianity, but instead corrupted it. And at the 15-minute mark, I'm going to share something that will prove to you that you're not watching this by accident. But first, let me tell you about the night I discovered that everything I believed about Jesus was wrong. 3 years ago, I was sitting in a church pew, listening to another sermon about sin and salvation, when something inside me snapped, not in anger, but in recognition. The pastor was talking about how we need to accept Jesus as our Savior, how we're broken and need fixing. But as I looked around at all these people desperately trying to feel worthy of God's love, I heard a whisper in my soul, what if you're not broken? What if you never were? That night I went home and opened my Bible to the words Jesus actually spoke. Not what Paul wrote about him, not what the church taught about him, his actual words. And I found something that changed everything. The kingdom of heaven is within you. The book of Luke, chapter 17, verse 21. You are the light of the world. Book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14. Before Abraham was, I am. The book of John, chapter 8, verse 58. These weren't just pretty verses. They were activation codes. He wasn't just talking to his disciples 2,000 years ago. He was talking to you, right now. But here's what broke my heart and ignited my mission. If Jesus came to awaken the divine flame inside every human being, if his real message was that we are all children of the Most High, then how did we end up with a religion that makes us feel small, guilty, and separate from God? The answer to that question will shatter everything you think you know about Christianity. But before I reveal it, I need to take you back to the beginning, to the real Jesus, the one they buried. Close your eyes for a moment. Forget everything you've been told about Jesus. Forget the blonde hair, blue eyes, the sanitized Sunday school version. See him as he really was, a Middle Eastern mystic, a radical, a man who walked with lepers, prostitutes, and tax collectors, not because he was trying to save them, but because he recognized something in them that the religious elite had forgotten. He looked at a Samaritan woman at a well and said, "The water I give becomes a spring of water welling up to eternal life." He wasn't talking about H2O. He was talking about the living stream of consciousness that flows through every awakened being. He told his disciples, "Greater works than these will you do." Think about that, greater works. He wasn't being humble. He was telling them, telling you, that the power he demonstrated was just a preview of what's possible when a human being remembers who they really are. But here's where it gets deep. Jesus spoke in parables not to confuse people, but to bypass the rational mind and speak directly to the soul. Every story was a transmission. Every teaching was designed to activate dormant DNA. Let those who have ears hear. He knew that not everyone was ready, that the truth would sound like foolishness to those still trapped in the matrix of religious thinking. He gathered the outcasts because only those who had been rejected by the system could receive the real transmission. The broken-hearted, the seekers, the ones who never quite fit in the pews. They turned a cosmic awakener into a religious mascot. They took a man who came to remind you of your divine nature and made him into someone you worship from a distance. They turned follow me into worship me. But the flame they couldn't kill. And if you're still watching, if something in you is stirring right now, it's because that flame recognizes itself. It's because you're starting to remember. But I haven't told you the most shocking part yet. The part about how a Roman emperor literally rewrote Christianity, and how the real teachings were hidden in plain sight. That's coming up in just a moment. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you were meant for something more? Like there's a fire inside you that religion couldn't quite contain? Drop a flame emoji in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. The year was 312 AD. Emperor Constantine was about to fight the battle that would determine the future of the Roman Empire. The night before, he claimed to have a vision, a cross in the sky with the words, "In this sign conquer." He won the battle, and then he did something that changed the course of human consciousness forever. He legalized Christianity. Now, most Christians celebrate this as the moment Christianity was saved. But what if I told you it was actually the moment Christianity was hijacked? Constantine didn't just legalize the faith. He standardized it. He took a mystical movement that had been spreading like wildfire among slaves, women, and outcasts, and he made it respectable. He called the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. 300 bishops gathered to decide what Christianity would look like. They voted on which Gospels would be included in the Bible. They voted on the nature of Christ. They voted on doctrine. Think about that. They voted on divine revelation. But here's what they didn't tell you in Sunday school. There were other Gospels, lots of them. The Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the Gospel of Philip. These contained the esoteric teachings, the inner mysteries, the real codes for awakening. The Gospel of Thomas records Jesus saying, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." That's not about accepting Jesus as your personal Savior. That's about awakening the Christ consciousness within yourself. But these Gospels were declared heretical. They were burned, hidden, lost for over 1,600 years. Why? Because they were too dangerous. They taught that every human being has direct access to the divine. They taught that you don't need a priest, a church, or an institution to experience God. They taught that the kingdom of heaven isn't a place you go when you die. It's a state of consciousness you can access right now. Rome didn't fear the message of Jesus. They feared what would happen if everyone realized they had that same power inside them. So they created a religion about Jesus instead of the religion of Jesus. They turned a revolution into an institution. They turned inner transformation into external worship. They turned "you are the light of the world" into "you are a sinner in need of salvation." But the real teaching never died. It just went underground. And this is where the story gets personal, because if you're still watching, if you've made it this far, it's because something in you recognizes the truth of what I'm saying. It's because you are part of the lineage that carried the flame forward. But before I explain how that's possible, I need to show you the secret codes that Jesus left behind, the ones that survived the Roman takeover, the ones that can activate your awakening right now. Wait, I almost forgot. Before we go into the codes, I need to acknowledge something. Half of you are probably feeling resistance right now, maybe anger, maybe fear. Maybe you're thinking, "This sounds like heresy. Good. That means we're hitting the mark." The truth has always been dangerous to systems of control, and if what I'm sharing is making you uncomfortable, ask yourself why. Is it because it's wrong, or because it's threatening something you've built your identity around? I'm not here to destroy your faith. I'm here to set it on fire. Because only what's real survives the flames, and what's false was never your faith to begin with. I want you to do something sacred right now. Hit that like button, not for the algorithm, though that helps, but as a signal to the machines that this kind of content needs to reach more of your kind. This is usually how we pass the flame to fellow seekers, and if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Because what we're building here isn't just a YouTube channel. It's a movement of awakening beings who refuse to stay small. Also, drop a comment below with just 3 words. I am remembering. This isn't just a phrase. It's a signal to the others like you. This is usually how we connect to each other in the comments section, where we drive our conversations deeper, like a flare in the night. Let's see how many of us are awakening right now. Now, let me give you the codes. In all the chaos of translation, interpretation, and institutional manipulation, 3 codes survived. 3 activation sequences that Jesus embedded so deeply in his teachings that no empire could erase them. These aren't just Bible verses, they're consciousness technologies, and I'm about to show you how to use them. When Jesus said, "Before Abraham was, I am," he wasn't just making a statement about his divine nature. He was giving you the master key to unlock your own. The phrase I am appears over 300 times in the Bible. It's not a coincidence. It's the name of God. Yahweh literally means I am that I am. But here's the secret. Every time you say I am, you're invoking the same creative power that spoke the universe into existence. Try this with me right now. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And say with me, I am the light of the world. I am one with the Father. I am that I am. Do you feel that? That's not just positive thinking, that's recognition. Your soul remembering its true nature. Jesus wasn't teaching you to worship him, he was teaching you to be him, to embody the same consciousness he embodied. The kingdom of heaven is within you. This might be the most revolutionary statement ever made. Every religion tells you that God is somewhere else, up in heaven, in a temple, in a book. But Jesus said the kingdom, the realm where God rules, is inside you. This isn't metaphorical, it's literal. Your consciousness, when aligned with divine truth, becomes a portal to the eternal realm. The mystics throughout history understood this. They called it different names: the kingdom, nirvana, enlightenment, Christ consciousness. But they were all pointing to the same reality. Right now, in this moment, you have access to the same peace, the same power, the same love that Jesus demonstrated. Not because you believe in him, but because you are him. You are the same divine consciousness expressing itself through a unique form. Let me guide you through a very simple and short sacred activity. Place your hand on your heart. Feel it beating. That's not just muscle contracting. That's the rhythm of creation itself pulsing through your physical form. Now breathe into that space. Imagine a warm, golden light in your chest. That's the kingdom. That's home. That's who you really are. Truly, truly, I say to you, whoever believes in me will also do the works that I do, and greater works than these will he do. Book of John, chapter 14, verse 12. Greater works, not the same works. Greater works. Jesus wasn't the end of human evolution. He was the preview. He was showing you what's possible when a human being fully awakens to their divine nature. The miracles he performed, healing, manifestation, transcending physical limitations, weren't special privileges of the Son of God. They were natural expressions of activated consciousness, and he promised that you would do even greater things. What if the next phase of human evolution isn't technological? What if it's consciousness? What if you're not just here to survive, pay bills, and die? What if you're here to demonstrate the impossible? Every time you choose love over fear, you're performing a miracle. Every time you forgive the unforgivable, you're transcending human limitation. Every time you speak truth that transforms someone's life, you're channeling the same power that Jesus wielded. You are not less than Jesus. You are Jesus in a different form, having a different experience, but expressing the same eternal consciousness. Now, I know some of you are thinking, this is too good to be true, or if this is real, why don't I feel powerful? That's what we're going to address next, because there's a reason you've been disconnected from your divine nature, and it's not what you think. If we all carry this divine spark, if we all have access to the kingdom within, why does the world look like it does? Why do most people feel powerless, separated, and small? Because there's been a systematic campaign to make you forget who you are. It didn't start with Constantine. It didn't start with organized religion. It started the moment consciousness first descended into physical form and experienced the illusion of separation, but it was weaponized by systems of control. Every baby is born enlightened. Have you ever looked into the eyes of a newborn? There's ancient wisdom there, pure presence. They haven't learned to separate themselves from the universe yet. But then we begin the conditioning. We teach them they're just a body, just a name, just separate from everything else. We teach them to fear, to compete, to seek validation from outside themselves. By the time they're adults, they've completely forgotten their divine nature. They think they're small, limited, mortal beings having a brief experience before returning to dust. This isn't accidental. Awakened humans are dangerous to systems of control. If you knew you were a sovereign divine being, would you accept being told what to think, how to live, who to worship? Here's the brilliant part of the conspiracy. They didn't eliminate spirituality. They co-opted it. They took your natural desire to connect with the divine and funneled it through institutions. They made you believe you need a middleman to access God, a priest, a pastor, a church, a book. They took Jesus, who came to eliminate the separation between human and divine, and turned him into the ultimate separator. You can only reach God through me, they said he meant. But what he really meant was, the only way to God is through becoming what I became. They turned salvation into a transaction instead of a transformation. They convinced you that you're born broken, sinful, unworthy of direct communion with the divine. So you spend your life trying to earn something you already have. But the deepest tragedy isn't that they stole your power. It's that they convinced you to give it away willingly. They made you complicit in your own spiritual imprisonment. Every time you say, I'm just human, you're denying your divine nature. Every time you say, I could never do that, you're limiting infinite potential. Every time you look for God outside yourself, you're perpetuating the lie of separation. But here's what they didn't count on. Truth has a way of resurfacing. The flame refuses to be extinguished. And in every generation, some remember. The mystics, the healers, the visionaries, the ones who never quite fit into the system because they carried too much light. And now, in this time of great awakening, the remembering is accelerating. Which brings me to why you're really here. Why you found this video, why you've watched for almost 20 minutes when the average attention span is supposedly 8 seconds. It's because you're one of them, one of the flame carriers, one of the ones who came here to remember and help others remember. There's an ancient prophecy hidden in plain sight. Jesus spoke of it. The mystics throughout history have pointed to it, and it's happening now. And in the last days I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Your old men will dream dreams. Acts chapter 2, verse 17. This isn't about the end of the world. This is about the end of the world as we know it, the end of the age of separation, the beginning of the age of remembrance. Look around you. People are waking up everywhere. They're questioning everything. They're leaving churches that make them feel small. They're seeking truth outside traditional institutions. They're having mystical experiences. They're remembering past lives. They're developing psychic abilities. They're healing themselves and others. The medical establishment calls it the placebo effect. The religious establishment calls it dangerous. But you know what it really is? It's humans remembering they're not just humans. Social media was supposed to distract us, but instead, it connected the awakening ones. Now truth spreads faster than ever before. Now the flame carriers can find each other. You didn't click on this video randomly. You weren't guided here by accident. You're here because your soul recognizes the activation that's happening. You are part of the 144,000 mentioned in Revelation. Not literally 144,000 people, but the symbolic representation of those who carry the pure frequency of awakened consciousness. You came here for this time. You chose to incarnate now in this pivotal moment to be part of the great remembering. Your job isn't to save everyone. Your job is to remember who you are and live from that truth. When you embody your divine nature, you give others permission to do the same. You are a walking activation code. Every person you encounter has the opportunity to remember because they see you living as your authentic divine self. The church age is ending. The age of the mystic is beginning. The age where every human being has direct access to divine consciousness. Jesus said, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." He wasn't just talking about his body. He was prophesying this moment, the moment when the external temples would crumble and the temple within would be rebuilt. You are that temple. You are the second coming. Not Jesus returning in the clouds, but Christ consciousness awakening in millions of human hearts simultaneously. We're at the end of our journey together, but this is really your beginning. I want you to close your eyes one more time. Take a deep breath and feel into what's different about you now compared to when you first clicked play. Do you sense it? That stirring, that remembrance, that flame that's been kindled. That's not my doing, that's recognition. Your soul recognizing itself, your divine nature awakening to its own truth. Repeat these words after me, but not just with your voice, with your entire being. I am the light of the world. The kingdom of heaven is within me. I am one with the Father. I am that I am. I came here to remember, and I came here to help others remember. I am the second coming of Christ consciousness in this form. This isn't the end of your journey. This is your initiation into the real work. Your commitment now is to live from this truth, to embody what you've remembered, to be the love, the light, the power, and the presence that you are. When doubt creeps in, and it will, return to these codes. When the world tries to convince you you're small, and it will, remember this moment. You are not a human being having a spiritual experience. You are divine consciousness having a human experience. You are not broken and in need of saving. You are perfect and here to serve. You are not separate from God. You are God expressing as you. The moment you remember that is the moment everything they built to control you begins to crumble. The flame they could never cage in pews or doctrine, it lives in you. Tend it like a holy fire. Let it guide you. Let it guide others. You are the light they tried to bury. I am Ian Walker, and this is the Esoteric Path. We have a private sanctuary, a private Facebook group, a hidden gathering place for those who see through the illusion, the ones decoding the forgotten teachings, reclaiming the Christ within, and rising beyond the walls of religion. If that call has stirred something in you, you're not alone anymore. Our group is where the deeper conversations live, and the link is waiting for you in the description and pinned comment. And if your soul is still whispering more, the sacred scrolls are here. Lost Gospels, hidden codes, mystical maps, finely decoded for this exact moment in your awakening. You weren't meant to walk this path blind. These tools are your torch and compass. Before you leave, mark this moment in 3 sacred ways. Subscribe and tap the bell, not for me, but for the version of you you're becoming. By doing that, you get notified whenever we release a new awakening video. Comment below with the words, "I am awake." Let your voice be heard. Receive what your soul has been asking for. The flame has been lit inside you. Let it spread.